614 BC, 3281 AM. King Cyaxares of Media destroys the Assyrian city of Ashur and forms an alliance with Babylon. In Media, the Sacs, sons of Isaac, become the dominant group in the land and no doubt played a significant part of the attack on Assyria. 1. Tracing our ancestors. 612 BC, 3283 AM. The waters of the Tigris River flooded and damaged the walls of Nineveh, as prophesied by the prophet Nahum. The fall of the capital is fixed in the Babylonian Chronicles, BM 21901. Nineveh was destroyed by three armies, the Medo-Babylonian alliance and the Medo-Scythian-Cimmerian alliance. Nimrud is also destroyed. Babylon is later credited with the fall of Assyria because Babylon became the next in a succession of empires, but their allies in Media would turn enemies and orchestrate their fall in 537 BC. Historians ignore the role of the Cimmerians in the fall of Nineveh. The Babylonian Chronicle reads that they, quote, ruined the temples of the gods of Assyria, all of them, unquote. These gods were the Anunnaki, who were worshipped in deified forms. 1. Nahum. 2. Post-Captivity Names of Israel. 3. Ages in Chaos, Volume 2. 609 BC, 3286 AM. Pharaoh Necho II of Egypt passes through Palestine and is opposed by King Josiah of Judah in the valley of Megiddo, Armageddon. The Egyptians were on their way to conquer Mesopotamia, as they knew of the instability of the Assyrian government, having lost major cities. Josiah feared Nabopolassar of Babylon and Akkad, which was the reason why he thought to oppose the Egyptians, but he was killed by dart throwers in battle. Pharaoh then marched on to the Euphrates and encountered not a declining Assyrian empire, but an emerging Chaldean one. The Babylonians routed the Egyptians and chased them all the way back to Egypt. This reveals the power of the Chaldean dynasty, for they fought off the Egyptians when the Assyrians were still in possession of a mighty army that would last another 2 years. Pharaoh Necho II, sometime later, commissioned Phoenician sailors to sail around Africa, starting from the Arabian Sea. They sailed around the continent and entered the Mediterranean through the Pillars of Hercules, Gibraltar, in 2 years' sailing, the duration caused because they had to stop and sow and reap a harvest. 1. 2 Chronicles. 2. A Short History of the World. 3. Ancient Mysteries. 608 BC, 3287 AM. King Nabopolassar of Babylonia destroys the Assyrian-occupied city of Haran, this being 54 years, half of 108, before the first regnal year of King Nabonidus in 554 BC, according to the Stele of Nabonidus. 607 BC, 3288 AM. The Crown Prince Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylonia engages the Assyrian army and utterly defeats them, ending the 666 years of Assyrian domination over the Near East since Assyria first became an empire and annexed Babylon in 1273 BC. This year saw the freedom of many Israelite-descended peoples that had been displaced and spread abroad by Assyria. This year was 2232 years, 744 times 3, since the founding of the Anunnaki dynasty before the flood, and 2208 years, 552 times 4 Anno Pyramid. It was also the 144th year of the Babylonian Nabonassar calendar, founded in 751 BC, and 138 years, 1656 months, Phoenix orbit, since the Assyrians deported the 10 tribes of Israel in 745 BC. Biblical scholars in the early 19th century had no archaeological evidence of the existence of Assyria. There was little by the way of proof to corroborate the biblical record. This changed in 1842 AD, when under the desert wastes the ruins of Nineveh were discovered, a city that the prophets predicted that God would hide from mankind. Amazingly, 1842 AD was precisely 2448 years after the fall of Assyria in this year, 607 BC. The ruins of Nineveh have since yielded forth tens of thousands of cuneiform writings and artifacts supporting the biblical record. The Egyptians again sought to contest Babylon for supremacy of the Near East. At the Battle of Carchemish, the Egyptians were sorely defeated again, this time by the crown prince Nebuchadnezzar II, a son of Nabopolassar, who was to die in 2 more years. This was the first year of Nebuchadnezzar II's rule, being crown prince, and the 4th year of King Jehoiakim of Judah, when God visited the prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah proclaims that he had been warning Jerusalem these 23 years, 276 months, 138 plus 138, that they had angered God and that he would send Nebuchadnezzar II to carry the people away. He prophesied that Judah, Syria, Phoenicia, Ammon, and Moab would serve Babylon for 70 years, at the end of which time the king of Babylon would be punished. At the termination of the 70 years, many nations would arise against Babylon and Judah would return. Jeremiah declared that Ephraim, 10 tribes deported, was God's firstborn and that he would be scattered over all the coasts of the earth and be inheritors of the promises of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The prophet went on to say that God will enter a new covenant with Ephraim, not the Mosaic covenant, but one where he would, quote, write his law not on tablets of stone but in the hearts of humanity, unquote. This year begins the Second Babylonian Empire, Nebuchadnezzar II, though crown prince, counted the beginning of his reign at his second victory over the Egyptians. The last king of Assyria was chased away and vanished in history, King Ashurbanipal II. Judah falls under the rule of Babylon, and 4 Judahite youths are sent to Babylon, who are given Babylonian names: Daniel, Belshazzar, Hananiah, Shadrach, Azariah, Abednego, and Mesnach, Judean name unknown. Daniel is a prophet and wise beyond his years. 1 Jeremiah, 5 Phoenicians, 2 Kings, 7 Daniel.